Guys, welcome to the Merge Medical Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Brown, joined by my co-host, Dr. Jeff Cole, and Stephen Flutie Davis. Stephen is the founder of PitchSync. PitchSync is an online platform connecting medical device innovators and elite professionals. We're delighted to have Stephen on the podcast today because there's so much synergy we're going to be able to offer our previous guests going forward. Stephen, why don't you just start with, obviously Jeff and I know so much about what you're doing, but give us a quick elevator pitch, and then let's do like a deep dive into PitchSync.
Sounds great. And thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about PitchSync. So quick elevator pitch. We're trying to democratize access to resources to allow for more physician-led innovation and also allow startups to scale faster in an on-demand manner and also more cost-effective manner. So we're pretty excited for our mission. I think if we look 5 years down the road, you'll see a lot more FDA submissions really from physician innovators because of use of our platform. So we're excited for that.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, when I first looked at it, and I don't think you use this exact explanation, but people that are looking at this, if they've ever used Upwork, when I saw it, I thought, holy crap. I mean, incredibly powerful. And if you think about it as on-demand talent matching marketplace for, MedTech innovation and healthcare innovation, that's it. And I think the sky's the limit. I mean, just like you can go to Upwork and find just about any, I think of it as finding programming help or social media help, but it's there, whether you're looking for help in the US or looking for cheaper help overseas, it's there.
It's your sort of way, Stephen, you're connecting professionals like CFOs, device makers, physicians, and it's all on an online platform where they can contribute fractionalized skill sets, fractionalized experience, right? So if I'm a CFO, or let's say I'm a startup and I can't afford a full-time CFO, I can go to PitchSync, find a fractional CFO, if you will, or if I'm looking for a device manufacturer, all of those things can be linked up on PitchSync. Is that right?
That's it. That's exactly what we do. We've got over 12 specialties we try to specialize in. I'll give you opportunities in. Other thing is, like Upwork scared me a little bit because the model's great. I mean, it's really the best concept I think you can come up with, but there wasn't a lot of vetting on Upwork. What we really wanted to do is make sure you as a founder, you have access to a highly vetted network of individuals who share that same that we do.
Yeah, that's great. Because I know there are and not to pick on consultants, but there are a lot of consultants out there that like to pick up gigs, and whether they're getting shares or whether they're getting payment cash, they love to do as little work as possible. And I think your platform will expose that because you'll have a rating system. Am I right?
Not only a rating system, what we really wanted to do is we try to build this on both sides, on the demand side and supply side being the consultants. And so we really took all of their feedback into consideration while building this. So they were excited about this platform and they wanted it to do well. We weren't allowing just anybody on. We did a pretty good vetting process. Then almost everybody was referred over. So even our payout structures, our transaction rates, they all came up with it. So I think that we've done a good job of vetting. It's a community platform for the community by the community.
Is it fair to say that you could take an idea, bring it to PitchSync, and that if it's a healthcare related idea anyway, is it fair to say I could bring that to PitchSync and basically all of what I would need to take that to market is there in some form? Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Every part that you would need is on the platform. You need an IP attorney, you need a regulatory professional, a CFO to do financial modeling for you, and then all the way through to I need a contract manufacturer, and then I need someone to develop our go-to-market strategy. I think in the future, there's some good funding opportunities that we'll be able to incorporate in the platform, but absolutely everything you would need is available.
Wow. My attorney does nothing but business law, busy as heck. But the funny thing is when I had him looking at some things, he asked if he could be on your platform. I'm like, I don't think you have time. But
yeah.
That was a testament to, it's like kind of a FOMO thing. People are going to be like, wow, no, I want to be represented there.
Well, I think it's the industry's ripe for change right now. It's funny. We have a lot of meetings with startups that have fractional employment. And I'll get an email afterwards from, say, I won't call anybody out, but a fractional CMO or, fractional sales leader. And they'll say, hey, can I meet with you? This is my personal email. I have a meeting with them and they're asking to join the platform because they're like, this is great. I can build out my consultancy business. There's more opportunities coming. This is really the future of medtech innovation.
Every time I see an idea or a project and I think, man, I wish I had thought of that. It's just like, this is one of those things, right? It's a great idea. I wish I had thought of it. It almost seems too good to be true. Like if I've got an idea, or anybody that's got an idea, product, service, where do I start? And the answer is pretty simple. After looking at this and talk with you, pitch sink's where you start. If you've got a healthcare related idea, that's it, right? And
Yeah.
everything's fractionalized so that the costs are minimal which is really important for any startup.
It is. The thoughts were I've always wanted to create products throughout my career. I moved into product development, years ago and realized there's still a major miss. Why can't I find an engineer easier than going through Google searches and LinkedIn's and you spend hours and hours and then I don't know who they are. That was the
Mm-hmm.
goal. If you have that and it's just this, why can't I get it done? Now we wanted to fix that. We wanted you to be able to say it's easy to do, it's easy to access, it's cost effective. Even our model is not going to essentially add like a large transaction fee that other agencies would do or consulting houses. We want to make sure we're truly the most cost effective path forward.
And when you say that, so the companies that come and use PitchSync, are they paying PitchSync directly, or are they paying the consultants, and then PitchSync takes a portion of that?
Yep. So what we wanted to do was build pricing security and payment security for both consultant and client. So we have two different payment options. You can pay someone either in a fractional or retainer method, or you can do a pay by, one-time project. Now, the way that it works is like a standard marketplace would do, kind of like you looked at Visa a little bit in the earliest stages, and Amex, and those clubs. They charge a percentage and a transaction fee for both the supply side and the supply and the demand side. So we do something very similar. For consultants, we always charge a fee towards them, but that fee is very low. But we wanted to again make sure we have the best of the best. We didn't want to take much away from them, but we wanted to scale properly and make sure that was good for both parties. On the client side, it's the only platform where there's no true gatekeeper. You don't need to come and pitch to me and say, "Oh, I don't think your project's good. You can't have access to our network." You can actually come and sign up for free, interact and engage with the consultant, again, with no money transferred over. And say, you know what, I've done my additional vetting on this person. I want to hire them. So then we have a variable pricing structure where if you just want to go with that free version, there's a 10% add on to whatever the project cost would be. Or we have another model where there's $2,500 upfront SaaS model almost, and that 10% fee goes down to 5%. And we come on board a little bit more as like a white glove service. We really want to be able to help. And this is really good for physician innovators that don't know where they go. They don't know where to do the research. We'll help you a little bit. And then the startup model, I think, is the most cost effective. That's $10,000 annually. There's no additional fees. You have full access to the rest of the consultants. You still have to pay their rate, but there's no
Mm-hmm.
additional fees from there. And that unlocks another level of suite of an opportunity with full-time hiring capability at no additional cost. And again, we're pretty much like we're part of your team at that point. We want people to feel like this is a really personalized platform, as well as it could be completely hands off.
I think understanding your background would probably help people understand how this came to be, because you came out of the med device world. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I've been in med device for 14-ish years now. I started with a little distributorship, had to work several jobs just to be able to afford to go to my main med sales job, selling kind of Me Too foot and ankle products. My first client ended up being one of my best friends at that time. We met and he took a risk on me to being able to provide good quality care in the operating room and for the staff and for the patients. So he had a concept he wanted to create. Years later, ended up creating it, but we had a really hard time trying to find companies that would help us develop a product. And that just was something that kind of sat in the back of my mind throughout my career. Fast forward a couple of years, move over to Stryker and a distributor of, which was great because we carried like 40 different lines that I was really able to see from pediatric limb discrepancies. My focus was always really on sports medicine, and even hip arthroscopy was even more focused, where there was a lot of innovation. And I had a lot of clients that I worked with that just had a lot of hard times trying to figure out, well, I'm already a consultant at Smith and Nephew at Stryker. They still can't design what I want to design. I don't know where to go. And I didn't know where to help them out either. Fast forward a few years, I'm now downstream manager for Stryker Sports Medicine's knee portfolio globally. Oversaw essentially about a $60 million portfolio, helped develop about 12 products. This was during COVID as well. So those were just it was like fuel to the fire on development. You gotta have to get it pump as much out as possible. During that time, I also saw globally that little problem that I had down in South Florida with a few clients. That was a major issue. That's where I really saw there's an opportunity to really change this market and be able to provide some good quality care, but didn't do it then. I couldn't figure out exactly what the right move was. Moved over to Smith and Nephew. Had a great opportunity to work with the Regeniten line, which is a bioinductive implant. I think it's one of the best things for patients. But selfishly, I was working in Steamboat and Aspen and Vale, so it's not a bad place to be. You can go do some cases and go snowboard and come back. But one of the best hip arthroscopists in the world, he was also a consultant for one of these large companies. He had the same problem. And if he is the name of hip arthroscopy and he can't get anything done, something needs to be solved. So that's when I set out to try to fix that and launch PitchSync, and took as much information from physicians, startups, and consultants as possible.
I heard you use the word slow no. Is that
Yeah.
kind of inside lingo for the large companies? Is that,
Yeah.
explain that to me.
So slow no is something that we're trying to fix. And what it is as a physician with a concept, you'll come to your rep at one of these strategics. Hey, I have this idea. I want to try to figure out how to build it. It's great. It's groundbreaking. So let's start those conversations. And so that rep goes to the regional manager. The regional manager comes to the marketing team. That's where my role came into place. And we'll start this courting process. Essentially, let's see what we can get at them. Let's see what their concept is, and let's also try to get them to use a little more products that might help solve what they have. It's about a 4 to 6 month period. We start bringing them out to dinners, talking to them, trying to figure out what they want to do. Most time, these are great projects, but we don't have the resources or the manpower to really take on anything new. However, if that project or that product was through 510K or a functioning prototype, they'd buy it, and they buy it pretty quickly, which is nice. So the slow no is that 4 to 6 month courting period where you just get messed around by one of the strategics, brought out to some great dinners, but nothing really comes out of it. And that's something I wanted to fix. That's why we went to the on-demand manner rather than still having some gatekeeper agency style. I just don't think it's not a gatekeeper's job to say, well, that's not a great project. You shouldn't put that on the market. No. Physicians are the one with the concepts that need to be fixed and addressed. They're the ones that are seeing this. Why not give them access immediately and get rid of that slow no concept?
How about your name? I envision two surgeons at the scrub sink. Is that where this name came from? Or
Yeah. So on the marketing side, I also did sales training. And so in sales training on day one, in any sales training, you're always told to give your elevator pitch. I think we talked about it earlier here. But in medical sales, give your scrub sync pitch. So the scrub sync really is, I think, the nucleus where all these really innovative, fun conversations happen between cases, after cases. And so we wanted to not just name, oh, here's MedTech development something. I wanted something a little bit unique. The scrub sync really is that hub of the innovative ecosystem. And if you can look long term, we want to be the hub of innovation. Something, if the medical device is coming to market, we want to be able to help in some capacity. So we want to be the hub of medtech innovation. So PitchSync came to be.
Is anybody else doing this? I don't know of a competitor that does all of this. Do you?
There's a lot of agencies out there that do a really good job, but not on demand. They're still gatekeepers. There's a concept that has actually taken place a couple of years before us in the digital health side. And they're 2 years before us, but they're really focused on just digital health. And they just closed a $10 million round. 1 million of that was led by the venture arm of the American Heart Association. But no one's focused on med tech or med device. And that's an industry I feel like it's really overlooked and just looped under this greater life sciences. Well, we need a voice on the med tech side. And so that's what we're trying to do. And I don't know anyone that's doing this on med tech. I will say that the old guard doesn't love it. It means that the ways are changing and they've got to give up power. But if they look at this right, we can be the most complementary thing to this industry, where if you have an innovation center, you can use our network and expand your capabilities in the most cost-effective way.
Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know if it's 100%, but I mean, a large number of innovators, accelerators, they take startups to a certain point, and there's a drop off. Whether it's introduction to capital or access to contract manufacturing or fractional hires, that everything you offer seems to be that spot where a lot of the incubators and accelerators drop off. So I feel like, I don't think they're going to feel threatened. I feel like they're going to sign up in mass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's great because when you are in an accelerator and incubator, you've got this nutrient rich environment. You have all the resources you could possibly need, mentorship. But the second you leave, what happens? Where do you go next? And all of them are pretty scared. No, those resources just dry up. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of our first early clients is from those incubators and accelerators, be able to have access to a network where also most of the consultants from those incubators and accelerators are actually already in our network of consultants. Exactly that.
And I think, Jeff, you'd agree, and Stephen, I like your opinion on this, but back to what he was saying about that stopping point seems to be widespread commercialization, right? So many people, I think a lot of physicians have great ideas, multiple ideas, and a lot of them are able to come up with, friend and family round, a couple $100,000, get a prototype, and then you can't get it past that point. It seems like there's a lot that PitchSync could do, but can we talk about that next step of widespread commercialization and where PitchSync falls into that?
Yeah, I want to tackle two of those. The physician side of it, the physician innovation. I think what happens is we look at the capital side. Venture firms really only want to back something with a $1 billion, sometimes $2 billion plus TAM, the total addressable market. And a lot of these physician-led innovation concepts really don't hit that TAM, but they're probably some of the problems that need to be solved more than anything. So we look at what the future might look like. We want to democratize access now to resources, but if we can find and build an ecosystem and a partnership that then can say, hey, we now have a physician-led investment arm of this ecosystem. How exciting would that be if we can then democratize access to physician-led projects from physician capital? Essentially say, okay, now the whole concept has changed and gone on its head of venture capital is now almost removed from this area. Early stage investments, all physician investment. Right. So that would be really great for me.
I think that's a great thing. I mean, because if somehow you did attract a venture firm, you're not going to own it after the second round. I mean, you're going to be a minority participant in your idea. And so, I think through COVID, a lot of people had to bootstrap things, but I think there is a better way to fill those angel rounds, those pre-seed and seed rounds. And I think for full disclosure, we've been talking with you as far as collaborating and partnering with Merge Medical, because I think when I saw what you were doing, it's an absolute marriage. It's,
for sure,
hand in glove, and really excited. We're obviously early in these talks, but I think I'm just incredibly excited about what we can build together.
I am too. I think it's that there's an endless opportunity of what a partnership with PitchSync and what Merge can do. And again, we talked about early stage investment. Now, if you're a venture firm and you look at this with a physician-led innovation, it's being funded by physicians, the users of what this concept would be. I mean, you're de-risking investment. So I think it's just great for the entire industry, the entire ecosystem.
Well, and that's a lot of what we're trying to do with the various projects we've got is, vet them from our own clinical specialties. Like I think you said you had 12 specialties represented. I don't know how many specialties we've got, but it would be probably everything. The idea would be that if we've got a particular project for a particular niche, we go to those physicians that know that niche the best. And like you said, to de-risk these things, if we were able to improve our batting average to hit 2 instead of 2 out of 10, hitting it out of the park, we make that 4 out of 10. What that does to the bottom line is what doubles it, right? But I think we could do even better than that.
I would agree. I think if we can de-risk, and democratize access, again, the entire industry should look at this as, wow, this is a new way forward that a company is coming forward in the most genuine way possible of trying to push some change in the right ways with the right people.
Yeah, and maybe I'm dreaming, but I can see venture capital, healthcare venture capital coming to us in time.
Yeah. I mean, how great would it be if you have PitchSync where you come for your concepts and your ideas and you try to get consultants. Then you've got, potentially Merge Medical as an opportunity to get that early pre-seed seed maybe even some Series A rounds of investment. What if we had another arm too, where venture capital can come and
Right.
these larger firms say, well, hey, there's another deal flow platform where now I'm coming to PitchThink as a startup, as a physician. I have early stage investment. I have the tools to access resources of a consultant side to help me get to that next level. And
Mm-hmm.
now I need my growth rounds. Well, it's still within the same ecosystem. I think that's just an amazing concept.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I do think so.
Yeah. Very exciting.
We've talked about this partnership. I think we're pretty excited. It's in the early stages, but Dr. Cole, I think I'd like to hear a little bit more about what the Merge Medical ecosystem is doing for the capital side.
Yeah. So, Merge Medical was formed to really represent physicians interested in the business of medicine, innovation, just being more involved in the things that we see around us that where we need a voice and where we need action, to be honest. I think a lot of great things happen on LinkedIn, Doximity perhaps, but it's mostly talk. So we really want to be that action arm for physicians that want to roll up their sleeves and get involved. And I think there's the concept of physician equity, where if the motives and alignment are more correct, we can be a much better product than PE as it exists today. If PE stands for physician equity, I think we can accomplish some great things where, we want to invest in things that are profitable, but we don't want profit to stand in front of health and safety and patients. Now, technically, Merge Medical is working with a sister company, a technology provider who has built a deal display and funding platform. We've got the MVP for that, and we're really just trying to figure out the mechanics of getting that launched. It may be that in the beginning, we are simply providing visibility to companies that want to post their deals, and with a very organized way to learn about those companies, and then simply be introduced to the CEO or representative for those companies to transact investment, where we don't have a hand in that. It's possible that in the future, our sister company would have a BD that would be able to manage that in a more traditional fashion. Obviously, if we started working with VCs and later stage rounds, that's where we'd want to be. But I think in the beginning, really just to show the sheer possibility of everything, when we start to show and give visibility to these deals, let people come to the platform and see what's there, whether it's come through PitchSync or come at a later stage, just have visibility of those deals.
Yeah, I think it's definitely needed. Being able to, again, democratize access to capital, especially if you're a physician. I think it's great. Dr. Brown, I'd love to hear your insights, as you've got the financial background of what this could do, a partnership, right. What Dr. Cole just mentioned.
Yeah, well, let me start by saying, virtually every guest we've had on the podcast, I'll say something that comes back to our roots for Merge Medical is that, number one, we want to help patients. Number two, we want to help physicians do their jobs. And number three, and as importantly for us, part of our process is to empower physicians financially, right? And every single guest outside of we've had some quasi-celebrities and authors and so forth, but the companies, they've all had to check mark those three boxes. And I really, in my heart of hearts, I really think that PitchSync does all that on steroids. And that's where the economic opportunity lies. I don't know another group that does what you're doing that's going to enable these companies to do what their missions are. And, we talked a little bit about it offline. Maybe this is the 40th podcast we've had or whatever. And Jeff and I have been involved with countless companies, startups, accelerators, and Memphis itself is a hotbed for healthcare innovation. If you're not here, you may not realize it, but it is literally a hotbed for biotech, for MedTech. It's all right here. Two major orthopedic groups, the probably preeminent neurosurgical group in the country, all here, all academics, all innovators, and everything surrounding it. So I don't know, in a big picture sort of way, I can say I'm super excited. I feel like meeting you, meeting those behind the scenes at PitSync was somewhat a divine intervention. It was definitely a solution to a problem that needed solving. And I'm excited to see what we're going to do next. What the details of that look like, I can't say. But I do know it's going to involve a lot of introductions from our network, the previous guests we've had, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, to you, because they're going to want to use the services that are provided, because it's such a value add for them, right? So many.
Well, Stephen, tell about your experience when you came to Memphis and you went to the MB Ventures meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think you had a booth, right? You came, you attended, and I'll let you explain the success that you had. I think whether you had launched yet or were just about to launch. Won't you tell everybody about that?
Well, sure. That was a great conference for us. Great conference for anyone that wants to go and really see early stage orthopedic innovation. Also, just most cost effective. And we talked about bootstrapping earlier. We bootstrap, so we're pretty scrappy over here. It's kind of the name of the game. So 3 of us went to that conference. No booth, nothing. We had a few people that we worked with that we knew. We had some of our consultants, some of our contract manufacturers. And the fun thing is, as all of us, the manufacturing team, all that, we all realized, hey, there's power in doing this together. So we went to the conference, started listening to all the different companies that were presenting. So there were 40 of them there. And we've got, like I said, some scrappy team members who you just started going after and talking to them, grabbing coffee and trying to figure out how do we get involved in what they're building to some capacity. We think like at that early stage, a lot of these were pre-seed, seed, series A. They need to be on our platform. They need to hear us. We've done all this organically. We haven't spent $1 on marketing. 20 of those companies, 20 of the 40 that presented, have now either signed up for the platform or still talking to us about signing up for the platform. Some aren't quite there yet. So we're building out what we want to be as lifelong clients and friends, even in some of them. Some are in London, Switzerland, Australia. So they've all joined the platform in some capacity or joined the ecosystem. And if they're not quite there yet, we're doing podcasts with them, helping to bring awareness to what they're doing. Because again, I've bootstrapped some of these folks there, bootstrapped. We want them to feel that they have this safe haven, this group that truly, genuinely wants them to do well. So it's been fun. I've got a call later today, even this Sunday, with a team from Australia on how to help them get on the platform and potentially help them find distribution partners that we don't even have on the platform yet. But it's just still, how do we make sure that these people that are coming to us feel like they've got a really good friend and company that's invested in helping them get to where they want to be. So that was the best conference. We'll go back year after year. It was awesome.
You need to present next year.
We will. We need some funding to help us get there. So if we can, if anyone here wants that, help us out. We would love that. But that's the goal, is we want to go against the grain marketing. I want to go to all of these events that, Academy, all of that have these pitch events, and just start reaching out and meeting these people personally and saying, hey, there's a better way for you to build your company, costs better, faster, easier, and with people that genuinely care about you getting to market.
That's great. I'm going to make some introductions because I think what you're doing, I just think the ability to scale it, limitless. And I feel like there are small incubators, small accelerators, but I'm not sure why the largest of the largest wouldn't want to be here, because I don't care if you're, associated with Harvard or whatever, Stanford. They can't have all of these resources in house.
Right.
They still need to reach out for those resources.
And Stephen, let me ask you this, if you don't mind. I think if you're paying attention, we've been talking for 30 minutes. Anybody that's watching this by now, clearly there's the value in this, right? Anybody that's paying attention. So then the next question in their mind is like, man, how do I get a piece of this? Like, do you want to talk about that? Because you're raising funds for PitSync, right?
Yes. Yeah, we are. We're raising, the way we built this company was great. We built this on we've kind of hustled and built this for under $30,000. And we built this in the most scalable way possible. So we're raising a round, and it's not a very high round. It's about 750,000. And for the Merge Network, we've done a unique structure where we want to make sure that this group, if they want to be involved, feels like they've got a more, a higher percentage of the company. And we want strategic investment with folks that are actually excited about what this can do for. So we're raising $750,000 via SAFE. If they want to contact us, it's Steven@pitchsync.com. You go to the website, Steven@pitchsync.com, or you can go to the website and just say, contact us. That goes directly to my email as well. And with that funding, will do really help us pour fuel on the fire. Again, we went to one conference, 40 companies, 50% of them are now signed up. What would happen if we can go to the rest of the conferences around the country, the academies, and just, I think the opportunities are endless, and we're running such a high margin company too. It will allow us to get to where we need.
What's the valuation, Stephen? You mentioned a $750,000 raise.
Yeah,
correct.
$750,000 raise via SAFE. We're doing a post-money $5 million valuation. And so we originally cut that in half for this merge network because, again, we want the right people to be involved early to be able to help us get, all grow this together.
Mm-hmm. And you're revenue positive already. Let's highlight that for those that are listening and interested, right?
Yeah, well, we're revenue positive. We've clear path to profitability. I mean, if we don't get funding, we can bootstrap, we can keep going, and we're profitable in 2 months. And even with, a small investment, that might be the only real true investment we need to continue to grow. So profitability is key here. Scrappiness is key for us. We want to push and make sure that we don't take on a very large investment that's not needed or go waste money on different marketing things that aren't needed. We're going to be pretty strategic of how we spend that and scale.
I feel tempted to go make a massive list of incubators and accelerators and reach out to them. But have you done that? Or, I just feel like there's so much potential for growth.
Yeah.
And the friction, I just feel like it's low. I feel like it's very low to get somebody signed on.
So I'm going to share a story of kind of how this journey has been for us. If the right people see us, we're complementary. See us the right way, we're complementary to the industry. We're not competitive. We don't want to take away from you. We want to enhance your capabilities. And so we reached out to the MedTech innovators, all these other different accelerators we've applied. Crickets, we didn't hear much back at all. And it was frustrating. What we did hear, we were able to get back from some internal consultants that were at some of these programs, and they said, you're too competitive to what they want to do. I think what you're trying to do feels like you're taking away from what they want to do. And that's not the right way to look at this. Then we move over to the largest orthopedic center in the world. They have an innovation program. There's bottlenecks all throughout that program. And they've looked at us as the right way. This is complementary. We just solved their problems. They have 70 concepts that come through their platform or their division a year. They fund 15 of them. And then essentially it's just free for all from there. Go find consultants, go find manufacturing. The way they saw us as we are complementary to what they're building with our platform, customizing part of it for them, even our network, our internal network, and customizing who they use. We can solve all of their problems and are well underway of building out a customized version of our platform with them to be able to essentially say, this is the way forward. Again, the number one orthopedic center in the world sees us as the way they should, and that's complementary to what they're building. It expands their capabilities without them going and having to spend millions of dollars in overhead.
Is that confidential for now?
It's confidential. The name of it will stay confidential. I'll use as many clues as possible, but it is again.
So I feel like when you have one of these companies that has a need that's not on your platform, I think one of the value adds is you're reaching out to your existing network and your contacts to try to find that. And every time you do that, your platform just gets better.
Yeah. So I had a company that it's a generative AI sales targeting platform for med device. Good friend of mine now, CEO calls me and says, hey, I have a nightmare I'm trying to figure out. I need a generative AI developer that has some med tech experience. I'm like, well, we don't have that. Give me 20 minutes. So I put an email out to our network. Within 20 minutes, I had 5 highly qualified consultants that I already had meetings set up with. I think that's the exciting thing that's happening with our platform, the power of it. If it's not there, you give me 20 minutes, we'll find it. We'll make sure it gets done. And that's just also who I am, who our CFO, our sales team, our CTO, that's who we are. We just want to make sure that it gets done effectively, fast as possible, but with the right people, the right team behind it.
Do you feel like you will always have a gatekeeper, so to speak, as far as the talent that you bring on? Do you think you'll always vet everyone.
We have to. So we
Yeah.
don't want to be the biggest talent network. I want to be the best. I'd rather have a hyper focused network that is just so good at what they do. And the way that we're going to scale is making sure that the supply is happy, that the talent in our community is really happy with the jobs that are coming on the platform. And we'll scale when they become a little overwhelmed, if you will. Make sure that they have good job flow, and then we'll bring on more consultants as the time goes on. But it has to be gatekeeped. We can't just allow anybody on board. There has to be pricing security. There has to be some types of checks and balances to make sure if you're a physician, you're getting an A+ level talent. If you're a startup, you're getting an A+ level regulatory professional. And I think on our platform now, there's average of 18 years of experience. I don't want to dilute that. I want to keep that as is. I want people to know maybe there's not thousands, there's hundreds, but they're the best of the best. And they also share that same mindset of, hey, together we can push this a lot further and we can really make some significant change in this industry.
That's great.
Jeff, I wanted to make
a
a comment about, you were saying about the platform growing, as we make introductions, right? Because it seems like to me, if I made an introduction to Steven for PitchSync to Intac or Tecton or any of these other entities we've worked with and podcasted, and the companies themselves would potentially utilize the services, which in turn would be, revenue for PitchSync, but then the individuals within those companies could be part of the ecosystem.
It could be.
So it's almost like it just feeds itself and gets better and better as it goes, right?
Correct. That's exactly what it is. Again, we've talked about it earlier. There's a couple startups that weren't ready for us that we talked to, but their fractional team are now all on the platform. So it's an opportunity. Yeah, it's an opportunity to grow the industry. Again, in the most complementary way that we can. It's how do we help your startup? And if you just do fractional work for them, well, how do we help find you more fractional?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting use case down the road where we can essentially do the same thing for physician advisement groups. Your startup or your physician, and you want to be able to get some good feedback, KOL feedback. Well, you can go put together a focus group on our platform and be able to have a webinar like this to be able to get some feedback. And it's all paid for. It's all streamlined. It's all done. You don't have to worry about anything. It's all safe and secure.
Yeah, I have it designed in concept, but I really think Merge Medical will have a medical advisory group. There may be a particular physician that heads up each division, but there may be a need for at least a dozen different categories, if you will. And I think that there are people that will raise their hand and say, yeah, I would love to be considered to be a startup advisor, or I'd love to give, kind of on-demand advice, which I can see that might be one of the services that crosses over from the physician community to your platform would be advisors.
I agree. I think there's a great opportunity to use PitchSync almost as a physician recruiting tool to bring back to Merge Medical, and Merge Medical helps fuel that physician advisory side as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then on ratings, I'm part of a 40-man group, and we focus very much so on just patient satisfaction and wait times and the whole thing. But every once in a while, I had one patient that she had a hard problem, and she toward the end of the visit, she's like, well, I guess I just need to go buy some marijuana and smoke it, well, whatever. So she gives me like a 1-star rating, right? And that's something they fill out later. But the way our office does it, when that happens, that patient gets contacted within 24 hours, and they basically try to resolve whatever the mismatch was. How do you see you guys doing that? Because I think it'll happen where somebody gives a bad rating. I feel like you'd probably take that offline and try to mediate that, try to figure out what really happened there.
Yeah, I think step one to trying to mediate that is the vetting process, is the referral process of saying, okay, well, there's someone that's actually qualified, that's going to be able to handle this, that understands what we're trying to do. So that's stage one of trying to mediate that. However, if there is a bad experience, that's something that we're going to personalize. We want to go through. Our back end, we can see all the data that we need to. Was the job done properly? Was the client perhaps the issue that's pushing through? So yeah, there's ways that we're going to have to be able to go and vet that and figure that out. But that's not a scalable thing at the moment. We'll figure that out, but in the early stages, do what doesn't scale, make people feel it's personalized and special. So we'll find ways around that. That's also why we did the payment setups, like the escrow payment that we will is to make sure that that's also safe and handled properly as well. You're not just going to get paid money and not do anything. It goes into escrow. If you're not doing anything, that money goes back. That's clear in our terms of use on both sides. So we'll continue to grow that and take both the client and the supplier side of their feedback into consideration as we continue to grow that process out.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic. Jeff Brown, you have things you want to touch on?
No, just one more question. We've been going for about 50 minutes. I think just one specific question, and then we can wrap it up. But minimums on the investment, Stephen?
Yeah, minimum on the investment is $25,000. And again, $750,000 raise at that via SAFE at that $5 million post value cap.
Excellent. Well, I really think this was a divine intervention that made us meet. I think we're going to do a lot of good for a lot of people, for our members, and for humanity itself. Anything else you think we should cover that we didn't, Stephen?
I'm just excited for what PitchInc is going to do. But again, I think if you're thinking about investing into this, you're not investing into current day. What we're doing, you're investing in the future of what MedTech innovation will be again, and that's what this partnership will be as we continue to build it out. But there's a lot of people, and Dr. Cole, you talked about this. There's a lot of people that say a lot of things on LinkedIn and social media that they want change. Well, I invite them to come talk to us, because I think this whole group, all these people, we're the ones that are actually trying to say, you know what, we're tired of the talk. We're doing it. We're putting pen to paper, and we're trying to push forward. So I think that's the other thing that they need to look into, is where we really are.
I think there are, and I've tried to take notes through the last couple of years, but there are quite a few. They're people just like me, just like Jeff Brown. We're trying to make a difference, right? So you start an entity and you start rowing. But there's still fragmentation through that, and so kind of what we've written in our blogs and on the website is just, we want to collaborate or partner with anybody who is pro patient, pro physician, pro private practice. And so, there are entities like Healthcare Reinvention, Medicine Forward, Coalition for Patient-Centered Care, Association for Independent Medicine. There's
Physicians First Bancorp.
Media.
Yeah.
Physicians First Bancorp, Society of Physician Entrepreneurs. I mean, there's so many different organizations, and I feel like we don't really compete with each other. I feel like, and even if we all got together, we row in the same direction, there's still a lot of negative stuff happening in healthcare that feel like we're still salmon headed upstream. But I think we can make a difference. So I guess my push would be for those entities that I just mentioned, or if I left you out, reach out. I feel like 2025 is the year that we stop complaining and we just start building.
I couldn't agree more. It's time we all push forward now. And if we can do it all together, we can go much further, much faster.
Amen. Well said, Jeff Cole. Let's close it out with that. This has been excellent. Thank you for joining us here on the Merge Medical Podcast. I'm going to close this out with my co-host, Dr. Jeff Cole, and the founder of PitchInc, Stephen Flutie Davis. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to work with you in the future.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for the future of this.